Hello everyone and welcome back, I'm Dr. Ravenholm. Do you need a steady supply of iron for your single player world, or do you want to flood the market on your survival multiplayer server? Today I'm going to show you how to build this super effective, highly efficient iron farm. So first, let's take a quick look around this farm on my former SMP world. Now you can see here, this is the absolute extreme model. If you are as crazy as me and wish to build all the way up to the sky, you can build a ludicrously efficient iron farm. But don't worry, we are not going to go into this level of crazy. I'm going to show you a much simpler way to build this that only requires 2 of these platforms and will still produce more iron than you will ever need for an entire SMP server. So let's head over to the creative world and have a look. Before we get started on our tutorial today, don't forget to rate, comment, favourite and subscribe, and to ring the bell to get notifications on the videos that you want. And don't forget as well to check out my Discord community. We don't just talk about Minecraft, we have areas for books, movies, from everything to tabletop games. So I look forward to seeing you all over there. Okay, let's get started with the tutorial. So we're now in our creative world, and you can see here the basic shape of the farm that we're going to build today, and I'm going to step through different steps of how to build this. I'll start with what we have over here first of all though. Here you can see where I extracted the build from the SMP world that I used to be part of. Here you can see just a little bit of a tidy up of all that, and here you can see the tutorial versions up ahead here. So this first unit is the completed model, which is all fully functional that we can observe. I have a second one that we're going to go through, which has all the dimensions marked out for us, and also space for us to build 2 of the platforms in survival. And then finally I have a version where I'm going to show you how to get the mobs up there, and also on this particular unit as well, the kill chamber will be done on this one as well. So first I'm going to go a little bit of theory. Now I know in a previous episode when I built this on the Cosmic SMP originally, I did do a theory episode of how this works, but I'll do a very quick recap. This will be especially handy considering that nightfall is actually coming down. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up the hitboxes just so we can see that there. So the way this works is we have these villager pods which are suspended in the air. Now they must be at least 16 blocks high or have at least a 16 block radius around where nothing else can spawn, because what we want is these villagers to get panicked and to spawn an iron golem on top of this platform here, which is a nice and small 5x5 area. And what you can see here is we have a zombie which is in a cauldron just to keep it in place. There's a trapdoor above it just to lock it in place so it can't get anywhere out. And the way this works is on here you'll see that we have 3 villagers. They are bouncing around in a water source block, which is a water source block that's been placed inside of a trapdoor, and you can see their line of sight here. And what happens is, well, at the moment, every time they try to go to sleep, they obviously get scared by the zombie. And what they do then is they bob up and down here, and we need to reset basically the scared timer for the villagers to maximise their potential of calling in an iron golem. And we do this by keeping the line of sight, as you can see there with the zombie. But we have just one little piece of carpet. This one little pixel stretch is enough, combined with their bobbing up and down, to break their contact with the zombie, so they constantly go from happy to frightened to happy to frightened by having their line of sight broken by this little bit of carpet here. And that allows them to transition between both states so that they can signal for another iron golem to spawn. Now at the minute we're not getting that many iron golems because this test world is it's not really set up for mobs. I mean, we're getting quite a few mobs spawning down there. But, well, there we go, see there's one there. Oh, there's a second one there. So they are starting to slowly come in. One thing I will add though is when you do build this, it might take 20 or more minutes before you actually see your first iron golem. It just needs to, to fire up and have the day-night cycle turned on as well. I've only just turned on the day-night cycle before we started recording this tutorial today, so it's taken a little while to prime, as it were. But the basic objective is, once those guys have spawned an iron golem, I'm just going to knock those hitboxes off now, they will spawn on this platform. This is the only place they can spawn, because we have lower half slabs here to protect these guys. And you can see there, they get pushed out. Their feet go above the water, through the water and get dangled in the air, and they drop straight down. Now, I will say that this farm is based on a design that DocM77 showed off a couple of years ago, I think it was now. However, his design was not as efficient. It had a few little faults in it, which we have corrected for this farm here. The first of which is moving these one gap out to allow the empty airspace here, which we use with the signs, because originally, when you had this design, the iron golems could come here and they could get stuck on the edge, because this is where the water edged on the end here, and they would get stuck and nothing else would respawn. And also there was the possibility of iron golems spawning on here. If an iron golem spawns on here, that's it, the farm is shut down, because the villagers know that there's an iron golem here to protect them from the zombie, and none of them will spawn again. So we have lower half slabs and a light source here with a slab on top as well to prevent any more spawning. This protects any any iron golems from spawning anywhere on these little villager pods. And as you can see there, we're getting quite a few in here now. They'll get pushed off, they'll fall down because there's nothing to get them trapped on the edge. They're still being pressed by the water until they're in that airspace, and then they will fall down. It's also as well to have these trapdoors, have these gates open so that they work as a transparent block but stop the water. So let's just go down and now we'll have a look at the kill chamber. So you can see here the iron golems will land on the bottom here. No matter where they land with this setup, they will eventually, nice and slowly, make their way down to the kill chamber. And the water is simply held back by a set of signs which become transparent. You have lava. Now you only actually need 3 lava buckets. Because obviously we're in creative, I've flattened it out. And we'll go down here. And here we have the lava is suspended on another array of signs, and the iron golems are so tall that their head is still in the lava blade there. And all we need to do is have a series of hoppers, and that comes down into our storage area. However, there is one extra element here that I do. You don't necessarily need to, but it just is for extra tidiness, shall we say. Is I siphon off all of the poppies. You can see here, there's plenty in there, and that's just basically done by, before the items come into the iron collection area. You can see here we've got, of course as you go as well, you can press these into blocks, but the iron will pass over here and go into the storage area, and we have just a basic item sorter here with filter blocks and the poppy just there to separate them out. And what we've done here is we have one box for storage, and then we have the overspill from that will just simply get incinerated in there. Let's just bring up our cursor here so we can see what's going on here. So what I'll do is I will grab some of these, so you see, well actually I will add as well, I know what you're probably thinking, this torch is too close to that and it's going to lock it. And yes, that is true, it will be locking it. As items pass through though, it will release, and to be honest, yes, you could build this one block over, but I like to build it nice and compact because the sheer volume of these that you're going to get, it's not going to be a worry if that hopper gets locked. But you can build this one block over. I personally prefer to build it like this, it's just for my own convenience really. And oops. What you'll see here as well is the method that I use to fire up, if I can land, the method that I use to fire things out of droppers and dispensers. It's a far better system and far simpler to use this. You'll see the designs that you see everywhere else. We'll bring back to daytime for a moment there. You see this method here is huge and bulky, and to be honest, people that use this is just horrible. But you know, you get items in there, it spits them out. However, this is prone to breaking in certain scenarios and certain chunks when it's not, you know, if the chunk doesn't load correctly or anything like that. These can completely lock up and they'll become completely powered on. It's just an awful way to do it. The method that I came up with, which is far superior, is we have our box where the storage is, we have a comparator coming off that, 1 dab of redstone, which then charges this block, which fires up a sticky piston, which then in turn makes a observer clock. And if I just grab a block, get this out of the site, you see that there, that is far simple, and it won't crash if there's any sort of like dodginess in one of the chunks like the way this will. Far superior method. I really don't know why people aren't using this. I've used this method in like a dozen of my other tutorials that I've shown off, so if you have a little hop around my channel, you'll be able to see this used in so many different farms for moving items. But anyway, let's get on to the actual the build of this. What we have on the side here is the blocks that you'll need to paint along with us. This first one here, that's separate. This is basically frame blocks. You don't necessarily need any all of these. That's just simply how many blocks it took to build this lower frame. What you could do is you could just build this out to be a complete chunk, a complete trench rather, you wouldn't need to build those. You wouldn't need to build up these sections here. What else though is the most important items? For the pods, of course, you'll need individual beds. There's 12 beds, 12 workstations, plenty of the signs. I've just used dark oak so that it stands out as a better contrast, so you can visibly see it during this tutorial. We have, smooth stone slabs, can be any slabs. You'll need lots of hoppers. You'll need some torches just to light up the base area. We have some glass as well. The glass is actually just for that. You don't really need any glass at all. It's just for that section there, because I like to be able to see the items getting chucked out. But that's completely unnecessary. You could get away with not even using the lava. You could just have them despawn, but that's the potential of creating lag on a server. Got some scaffolding as well. That's just actually there is actually a good purpose for the scaffolding that I'll show you here. Occasionally I found on servers is the villagers just stopped being processed, so the best way I found was to simply have some scaffolding handy. You come up and just simply come up here, and the processing will then resume on the villagers, once they've then, you just have a little look at them so that, they lock at their new line of sight and they'll start being processed again. It only happened a few times, but it was always just handy just to have that platform there. There we go, there's some more we're getting chucked out there. But let's go back as well there to what else that we need. You will need at least, for the kill chamber, you'll need a minimal of 3 lava buckets. And that extra lava bucket again is for those items there. And here's just a handful of little redstone components as well. Same again, it's just for that sorter down there. Of course, you will need the 2 cauldrons that we have our little zombies sitting in up there. So I'll just very quickly just pan across these so you can pause them for the number of blocks. Technically, I know you don't really need those ones, but never mind. I should say, well, this also doubles up as a waste disposal for your base as well, because you can just chuck things in and they get tossed away. Oh, there's some more dropping down there. So that's going to continuously work in the background there. So now let's go on to the dimensions. So we have the second version of the build here. So the collection area, the trench that you need to dig out, is 35 blocks long, and that is divided up into several tiers. Now I use these to illustrate where the water buckets will go. These are all going to be water source blocks, including this one in the centre. And each one of these platforms is 6. So we have 6, 6, 6 again, and 6 again. And that is so those water source blocks will, from the top there, push everything down. And then on the other side here, we have another 6. Technically, you could build your kill chamber over here and have them go down. This is just my personal preference, but either way, you need to gather up all of the iron golems that come down and funnel them into one spot. And as I said before, we use these signs to stop the water from getting into the magma blocks, or the lava blocks even. And same again to support that there. The kill chamber from here is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks down, and then here will be your hoppers on the 5th level here. We'll discuss not having enough hoppers or enough iron to build hoppers when we show the kill chamber build towards the end of the tutorial. So next up, you need to have your villager pods high enough that nothing else can spawn around them. So to do that, from the top of this chamber, from the top of the collection area here, so we've got 35 across. Oh, hang on. 35 across, and I will add 11 across. So the inner chamber is 9 across in the bottom here. So you can see I've illustrated that here as well, and there's another set of water source blocks along the top here. So as you need me 16 blocks, I go 17 just to be that extra one, and technically I suppose it's 18 as well when you count the other block there. And it's basically just picking a spot that's above, just to make sure. It doesn't have to be exactly here. You can build it a little bit further that way, a little bit further that way. It's entirely up to yourself. You don't even need all 4 pods. You could get away with just building 1 pod, and that would be it. It wouldn't produce as much as the 4, but considering how easy it is to build the 4, I would recommend building those 4. So you're coming up 17 blocks. And then if we come in here, you can see where we've got the 2 pods there, and then it is 6 blocks to the centre, and that's where we have our cauldron. As well, between the 2 sets of these pods, we have a 10 gap from the cauldron to where the next cauldron will be to mark the centre of the next platform is a 10 gap, and that leaves you with a 6 gap between the 2 platforms, just so you know how much of the spacing is needed. This will be better illustrated when we do the little build of this in a few moments. And you can see here as well, there is just a little 2 gap in there. And these guys are having themselves a little disco in there, I think, at the minute. So, what we have here is I've prepared 2 shulker boxes. This is to build the villager pod, and fall into the ground. This is to build the platform. We have some scaffolding just to help us get around there, and of course as well that scaffolding there as well just to help us get around. And you'll need like the 1 water bucket for each of these pods, and this actual platform here we will need at least 2 to build the platform so that we can build an infinite water source. Okay everyone, we are now in survival, and we are going to build the iron golem spawning platform first. I'll show you how to build that. So let's just gather up all these materials here. I'll just pop the water buckets next, we don't need those at first. I don't think we'll need the sword either, just for a few moments there at least. So what we're going to do first is I'm just going to mark off where the centre is, and as I said, we've already measured up where that's going to be. And the part of the reason as well that we have these underneath here is, actually let's bring up daytime as well, just so we can see a little more clearly what we're doing. The zombie will be in the centre. So what I'm going to do is, you will of course just in regular construction, you know, you probably would have scaffolded or blocked up here. And of course you can then use the scaffolding as well to start building your platform. Oh, that's going in there. So what I'll do is I'll put a scaffolding block there, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we will go until we have a 5x5 platform suspended in the air. Just get rid of a few of those construction blocks. And I will go back and collect that one. And then 1 more layer. And there we go, and that's the basics of the platform done. Next we need to contain the water and to help funnel the iron golems out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a construction block on either side there. Crouching, of course, I'm going to put a fence. And you want 5 fences. Crouching again, just so that you can get out without worrying about falling down. And then we will get a shot of that. And that is the sides complete. Next up, we're going to put the signs in. Now you can see here there's a little bit of an array of extra signs on here to that's just to contain the water, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But first, very carefully that we don't fall off, I'm going to place a row of signs here. This will allow the water to flow above, so that it doesn't the water doesn't like flow down, and allows the iron golems to stand in an airspace at their feet, which allow them to very, very quickly go away, because the whole point of this is to get the iron golems as far away from here as possible, as quickly as possible, so that the villagers don't see an iron golem and then they will spawn in a fresh one. So next up, we now need to place these obscure ones on the sides. So to do that, we're crouching again, and you can see there the hitbox is just coming up. You just want to click on there and place that like that. We'll do that again. So I'm holding control. Again, holding control, clicking on the very edge of that hitbox, and of course I'm one short. Actually, quite more than one short. There we go. We have the spare ones that we need there. So this last one here, you can see the hitbox is just over there, and then tap and you're away. Next, you want to come to the edge of the fences that we put in. Put another one there. Another one there. If you don't put that one there, what will happen is the water will flow across, it'll hover above here, and then it'll just spill straight over there. One more in there, and another one in there, and that's almost complete. Okay, next up we're going to put the gates in, which will work as almost like a transparent block and also retain the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a block there and a block there, and we want the fence gate facing that way, so it's like flat surfaces across here. To do that is a little bit awkward at times, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back another 2 blocks, I'm going to take out that and put that in there, and then what I need to do now is get rid of that block if I wish to, because from now on we can just put them side by side. I'll just go and get that last one. There we go. And I'll get, oh, doesn't matter, that's gone down there. And we'll repeat that process over here. So we'll come out one more block that we need, knock that out, put that in there. You can, of course, as I said, you don't need to stand on top of the gates. You can just build a little bit of a bigger platform. And then all we need to do is get rid of our construction ones. And next what you want to do is simply open all of these gates, and that is it. So next up, to finish this little area, we now want our water blocks. So what we're going to do here is, in order to make sure that they flow out, we need 2 rows of water. So what we're going to do is, we're using the 2 buckets here, we can create an infinite water source. Of course, you have to fight against the current. We will grab another one, and we will put it there. So that's the middle row done. But you see here at the minute, it's not flowing. So I'm going to grab one here, and what we're going to do is, we're going to put another one on this row. Grab that, and if I can just find the current for a second. There we go. So now these 2 the central one and the one just adjacent to it are now all water source blocks, and you'll see here that the water forces you off no matter where they spawn in. And that is that platform complete. And basically you're just doing that same process times 2. So next what we're going to do though is look at the villager pods. Okay, so we've gathered up the materials that we'll need to build each one of the pods. So you'll need this technically in 4 times. So we have the 3 beds, we have a couple of trapdoors there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all this into my bar at the bottom here. We have some extra construction blocks as well. So what we're going to do is, as I say, you've got the measurements here. So that is 6 from the centre. So it's from the centre of the platform here, where you've got your, this is because it's where your zombie's going to sit in here. So it is 6 from there. And we will just place a block. And once we've got that there, we will place the trapdoor on it. And normally, I wouldn't have, you wouldn't have these sort of, these tape that I've basically got here for illustration purposes. We need to build just a few extra blocks to help us place the beds. So let's get those down here. So we've got 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 beds, and then we'll simply come underneath again. You can knock those out. There we go, and just of course leaving that 1 block there. So next we need to place our looms down. These can be other workstations. This is my personal preference just to use the looms. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to place one more block on top. Then I'm going to get rid of that there. Next up, I'll place 2 more looms above the heads of the beds there. And next what we're going to do is I'm going to place a construction block in there, because we'll get rid of that in a moment. Then I'm going to place our other trapdoor, and then we'll get a shot of that. And we'll grab our water bucket as well whilst we're here, and we'll place that water slot. Make sure that you are facing into that trapdoor, hold and crouch, and then you can just pop that water in there. So next up, I'm going to place a couple more construction blocks, because we need to get slightly around from where we are now. So we'll come up here, and next I'm going to place a half slab in there, and this is where we put our carpet on top. And this is what breaks the line of sight for the villagers. So as you can see there, that's most of that done, and now we need to make this little cross shape on top, which is going to protect them from any more spawns. So to do that, because it has to be lower half slabs, once you've got that carpet in there, click on the carpet, and there you go. That is now at the right elevation for you in a lower half slab. So I'm just going to come up here. We will now build our little cross like that. We will then get our bit of glowstone, pop that on top, and then pop that on top. And then all we need now do is tidy up the construction blocks. And that is it. That is another pod complete. Now, yeah, I've just checked there. We do have these villager eggs. If I can just get in there. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. There's the third one in there. And that's it. That is the next pod complete. And basically, you just have to repeat that on each one, following the dimensions here, as we said. So I said, the 6 gap here for the platforms. We have a 10 gap in here, and of course you will have like a zombie in there. You will need 2 name tags. You must name tag the 2 zombies that go in. But that is the construction now of the upper sections. So before we now move on to getting the mobs up there, I'm going to show you now how to finish off the construction of the kill chamber. So you have here the water flows all the way down here, but you need to stop the water from flowing down here where you're going to have the lava. And as I said, it's 4 up. So you have an array of signs which are down here, which is to keep the lava above. I'll tell you what, we will put the lava in now just so we can see it all clearly. So to put the lava in, I said you need a minimal of 3 buckets. So 1 bucket at that end, 1 bucket at that end, and then simply wait for the lava to flow. And you'll see there that it makes a gap in the middle. So all you need to do is put your 3rd lava bucket in there. If, of course, you have absolutely loads of lava accessible to you, I would recommend putting a lava source block, tapping it on each one of these on either side. So next up, we will grab the water and we'll grab the signs. The signs, all you need to do is pick a direction, click on there, hold control again, sorry, hold shift even to crouch, and you're putting the sign one on top of another, just to create a transparent space to push the iron golems over the edge. A little bit time consuming, but it is a simple enough process. And there we go. So next up, if we just swap these around, you see here I just used the sea lanterns there to illustrate the where the water would go. I'm just going to clear those out. We'll get rid of these ones here as well. You see these little nicks here as well. These are so that you can get out if you accidentally fall in here. But let's go back into survival so you can see this here. And place 1 water bucket there, skip a block, put another one down. Now you've created an infinite water source in the middle, skip a block, and so on. And as you can see here, it's floating, and there's actually iron golems that are actually spawning on here and getting collected. But this will help us illustrate the next stage. And that next stage is down here, and it's you need all these hoppers, which is quite a lot if you don't have much iron. How do you get the iron to build those? Well, the answer is you don't until the iron farm is running. Basically, you just want to have a block here at this level. So you've got, of course, you've got an air gap, the gap with a sign, and then the lava. And as you can see from the iron golem that dropped down, it has dropped some iron. And basically, all I did on any survival world is I just hang around down here, the iron golems come down, I gather up iron as I go, and then I can slowly, one at a time, push these out, and like slowly and slowly and slowly until I have all of them aiming back down onto here. And that is like how you do the kill chamber in there. I'm not going to bother showing you how to build these. I mean, you can see there from the blocks how to build those if for the collection area, if you wish. I do have other tutorials as well on how to do item sorters, which is all this bit is here. And if you go back as far as my ultra slim chicken farm, you can see this design here being used to get items out of dispensers and droppers. Okay, so the next part is how do you get the mobs up there? So you built all these pods, and you now need to get 3 villagers into each one of these pods, and also 2 zombies up there. So how are we going to do that? Now, if you check one of my really old tutorials, I came up with a design of getting mobs up into water elevators. Now, there is an individual tutorial on this, and you can also see this in most of my mob farms, especially the skeleton farm, because I use this method to get the skeletons up so that you can drop them down so they're on 1 health. But basically, the way it works is, you come along here, you fall down, you get pushed into the hole, and you get launched up. And the way that is accomplished, is they come down, there's an airspace here, whatever the mob is will drop down, it will hit this pressure plate, which unpowers that block, which allows this to power, which powers the sticky piston, which then pushes the mob out, and then the soul sand with all those water source blocks launches them up. So, first of all, we're going to have a quick look at how to get the villagers in. So you'll see here we have at the top of this water elevator we have a set of boats that are all scattered around. See, normally when I'm doing these as well, I will have I'll have pathways going off here, so I can have one up, and then of course you can then distribute them across ways. But what I'm going to do now is we're going to come down here. I'm going to tell you what, we will do this in survival. I'm going to drop a villager in. Just mind his head. He's away. And as typically, he's got stuck under the boat. That's not a problem. We'll just nudge the boat out of the way a smidge before he drowns. And there you go, he is now in the boat. And then you see here, directly above the villager pod, I have built this other pod. And from here, this is where we're going to drop the villager down. So you can't get them all in here at once. What I'm going to do is, so once you're in here with them, let's just go through that there, and then it's just the fighting game to get them in there. You'll see here that I have placed 1 sign there as well. That is so that we can use water to try and flush them into the right direction, which we'll have a little look at now. So let's get our second villager. You will of course have had these from a villager breeder and some method to get them over here. We're not going to cover that in this tutorial. But you could just build a villager breeder right next to it. And then we just wait for him to fall into a boat. So he mustn't have been close enough to a boat that time. But he will be in a second. There we go. So let's hop back down here. We will break that. And this time we're going to try and flush him into the hole. And basically it just involves doing this little dance here with him. It's usually this method, I will usually use the water method to get him in there if he's being uncooperative, especially if he gets stuck in a corner. But more times, luckily, you're going to be able to just drop him straight in there like that, which is far easier. But as I said, you need 3 villagers in there, and once you've got your 3 villagers in there, it's just a case of recapping the this area off. So, you would put that in there, get your glowstone, and then deconstruct this whole area above, and you can put your other half slab on the top there. So that's how you would get the villagers in. The next one we're going to have a look at is getting the zombie in. So for getting the zombie up here would be the exact same method, except you would just simply lower the height of this chamber so that they come out here, and you don't need the boats because you want them free running. But basically you just need to get them up here, up there, and they will start wandering around. But this will have to be done either at night or you build a canopy above you. So we're just going to go into nighttime here, and you see there the villagers are starting to go to bed. And what you see here is I have a little chamber which is wrapped around the cauldron where you want them to sit. And you see here we have, well, there's a couple of methods of getting them in here. One is you have the 2 gates here, and you have the zombie running behind you. If you're on a multiplayer server, it's far easier because you can do this in 2s. But you can run through. The pressure plate will cause that gate to close, and then you've got a brief second where you can run around, trap him. Alternatively as well, if you've got 2 players, one player runs through, the other player hides here out of line of sight of the zombie, so when the zombie goes in there, they just click and that's them trapped. The other method is you run them through and you very, very quickly close it, which is what we're going to do here now. So I have some zombie eggs. We're going to go back into survival. I'm going to drop that there. Gates are both open. Oops. And there you see, he's trapped. That quick, that easy. So next what we need to do now is, you see some iron golems. Well, this could be a problem because this iron golem will kill that zombie. But I have a very special sword just to deal with that for the tutorial. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in some more blocks. Do we have any scaffolding left? Nope. Let's just hop into creative and we will finish just rebuilding. We had that corner out so that we could, if we were doing the run around method, we could see this to be able to click it. But you see he's in there, you need to get him into that hole without damaging him. So I'm going to come back into survival, and this is where we do have to use the water bucket. So what we're going to do is we're going to place water around him until he gives up and goes where we want him to go. And try not to get killed ourselves. And there we go. A couple of little flushes and he's gone. And then all you've got to do then is get rid of all this construction material around here. And you will of course as well need a trapdoor. And then you're taking that trapdoor, place it directly above him, and that's that. And then of course name him. There we go. And here we have another iron golem. Of course the iron golems of course won't be able to spawn here because this is just our construction platform. We will of course now be able just to remove all of our construction blocks. You know, you get rid of all of these, get rid of the gate. So once you've done that, that's it. You build the platforms, you have the collection area, the kill chamber, and the villager pods. The next thing is just sit back and relax. I would recommend maybe building an AFK fisher next to it. Of course, that won't be an issue in 1.16 because the AFK fishing won't be a thing. But you can build that in a few other farms around here, and you will have absolutely tons of iron. You see here the iron golems are coming down. They're getting killed in there, and all of those precious resources are all gathering up here for you. And as I can show you here from personal experience on my own SMP server, this produces absolutely loads. So let's actually just quickly nip downstairs. But we started this SMP just a couple of weeks ago, and I already have multiple shulker boxes full of iron blocks. It produces absolutely loads. You can see here we've got the poppies that are building up, and the poppy disposal just as normal. I will say as well, for anyone that is doing this on a server, put inventory blocks such as furnaces on top of any open pistons that aren't being used for active collection, and that will increase your server's performance because it won't be processing the space above the hoppers. But yeah, I said this is a really, really efficient an excellent for getting volume of iron. When I first built this farm and made it, improved it so that it ran more efficiently, I more or less completely ruined the iron economy on the Cosmic SMP server that we were on, because of the sheer volume that I was producing. Because I could get quite a few stacks of iron blocks per hour from this, and this is just with the 2 platforms, the 4 villager pods. If you want to go for something crazy and extreme, then the sky's the limit. I would recommend building each one of these platforms 16 or 17 apart from one another so that they don't interfere with one another, but you can keep going up and up, and as you can see, you get absolutely mountains of iron coming in here. And this is what I constructed on the SMP server, the original one that I joined over on Cosmic. You can see there our base there, and you can also check out my series. I do intend at some stage to finally finish that base tour episode, just so you can actually see all the bits and bobs that I built over the months that server lasted. And you can see there the iron golems are just raining down in here, producing absolutely tons of iron down the bottom. So I hope you enjoyed this look at an iron farm. People have been asking me to make a little bit more detailed tutorial on building this iron farm, and I hope that you find this useful for your worlds. So don't forget to rate, comment, favourite and subscribe, and don't forget to check out my Discord community. The links are in the description. Thank you all for watching and have a lovely day. Thank you for joining me today. If you are enjoying our journey and would like to see more, then please rate, comment, favourite and subscribe in whichever manner your chosen platform allows. If you are joining us on Twitch, Mixer or YouTube, where we have loads more for you to watch, from our live streams to all our episodes across our various series. You can also drop by and say hi over on Discord, where we chat about everything from Minecraft to books and movies to tabletop games. But most importantly, thank you very much for watching and have a lovely day.